Let's get back to Apple. That downside move costs the Dow about 90 points because Apple is a Dow stock. And by the way, it has fallen below the $1 trillion level in market value. Our next guest says what Apple needs is another trick up its sleeve. Vivek Wadhwa, Harvard Law School and Carnegie Mellon Distinguished Fellow, is with us again. All right, Vivek, what kind of trick does it need to pull out of its sleeve?
Well, you know, if you think about it, the iPhone is now 12 years old. That's where the majority of the profits of Apple are coming from. What's the last big thing they've had? Yeah, they've had a watch, which is a smaller iPhone. Yeah, they've had some, iPads, which are bigger iPhones. But they haven't had any magic. Maybe it's a self-driving car. Maybe it's a virtual reality headset. Or maybe it's, God forbid, it's a new, pet costume. Whatever it is, they need a new trick over here.
but, okay, they need one. Do you know if they're working on something that might be the next big thing? I mean, how about artificial intelligence? Haven't they got something there?
Well, if you look at Siri, Siri is primitive compared to Alexa and compared to Google Home. I mean, Siri has been left behind. Apple is doing a lot in the R&D, but they're doing it the Steve Jobs way. What Steve would do is make sure that the product was perfect before they released it. The tech industry releases products all the time, non-stop. It lets them fail, and it lets them improve once they release them. Apple doesn't do that. They want to get it right the first time, and this is what's been stopping them. They tried building self-driving cars. They've been working on it for many years, Project Titan, except they could never release it because they could never get it perfect. What did Tesla do? They got it out there and let people yell and scream that the product isn't perfect, but they're learning more and more. It's getting better. And over the next 2 or 3 years, my Tesla, by the way, I have a self-driving car. When I got here just now, I put it into autopilot, and the car drove itself most of the way over here. So they need to have something like that, even if it's not perfect.
Okay. I want to talk to you about Google. Some employees staged a walkout all around the world yesterday. They were protesting the way the company handled sexual misconduct allegations. Now, you know Silicon Valley as well as anybody does.
Yep.
Is it a boys' club at these big companies?
Yeah. Stuart, I wrote a book called Innovating Women about the sexism of Silicon Valley. The fact is that so far it has gotten away with, with murder when it comes to sexism. In other words, it has been a boys' club. It's a bunch of geeks. I mean, we've had this cult of youth over here. You take a Zuckerberg and, ooh, ah, wow, he must be smart because he's a college dropout. College dropouts don't develop the basic skills. When you and I went to college, we learned what failure was about. We learned rejection. I mean, I'm sure you hit on many women, and you got rejected, and you learned that you have to show them respect, right? So these are the type of things you learn. When you drop out of college and suddenly become a tech entrepreneur, and you have venture capitalists oohing and eyeing you, throwing money at your feet and worshipping you the way they have been doing here in Silicon Valley and letting you get away with everything.
But they're liberals.
You don't develop the social conscience and you don't develop the values you need. That's the problem in Silicon Valley.
Their public face is liberalism. They're nice to everybody. And yet their private practice, according to you, is sexism. I call that gross, naked hypocrisy.
There's a lot of hypocrisy in Silicon Valley. Don't get me started on that. But the fact is that it is a boys' club, and what happened with Google yesterday was Silicon Valley's Arab Spring. Suddenly you have the people rising. You have women rising, rightfully so, and I support them, by the way. They're rising, they're protesting, they're demanding equality, they're demanding justice, and this is hopefully the beginning of a trend because, believe it or not, Google is a good guy over here. Google is a good company. They have good management. I'm sure that the executives are serious about trying to fix the problem. The rest of Silicon Valley, I wish they were as good as Google is.
Okay. Vivek, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you, my friend.
Drive away on your self-driving car.